This is Huddle and Whistle, where sports, entertainment, and culture collide. We cover the stories shaping the game, on and off the field. Welcome to Huddle and Whistle.
And welcome to another episode of Huddle and Whistle. We are joined today by the one and only Mr. Sam Brown. And today we're going to be talking about his Tempe program. He's a transformation coach, poet, creator of the Tempe program. And Sam's powerful journey from overcoming his own personal adversity to a leader in emotional literacy has impacted lives in prisons, schools, and communities nationwide. He teaches people how to manage their emotions, make better decisions, and thrive under pressure. Lessons that resonate deeply, especially within sports. So we're excited to dive into this Tempe program and the principles and see how we can help athletes and parents and coaches elevate their game. Welcome, Sam.
Peace, Marlo. Peace,
How are
everybody. Thank y'all for having me.
All right.
you?
Welcome.
Absolutely. So, Sam, why don't you tell us a little bit about your personal background and journey, towards this Tempe program?
Sure. So first of all, it's an honor to be here on Huddle and Whistle. Um,
Thank you.
Really appreciative of y'all. So the journey began in 2014 while I was incarcerated. I served 24 years in the California Department of Corrections. And at that time, you couldn't have convinced me that I needed help or needed any assistance. I really thought I was, that guy. And despite the hurt that I felt on the inside, keeping it bottled up into myself, was the way I thought was to go. It just seemed like the normal thing to do, what I inherited from my family and my community. And just, so I didn't talk about how I felt, nor why I turned to criminality. And in 2014, just prior to it, I was approached by the Board of Parole hearings and told that I had an opportunity to come home. And I had no idea what coming home looked like. No one that I was around knew what coming home looked like. And when I went back to my cell and I yelled in the vent and I asked the older brothers who was in my vent, I'm like, hey man, how do I come? What do we do? And this one dude was like, man, I got like 6 life sentences. Somebody else was like, I got 500 classification points. None of us know how to come home. And I went to go see a psych, and the psych deemed me as antisocial, have an antisocial personality disorder. And I didn't really know what that meant. So I then went back to the library and I read up on it. I grabbed the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders and I read about conduct disorder, bipolar disorder, manic depressive disorder, addiction disorder, and antisocial personality disorder, among other things. And I learned that the linchpin for them keeping us incarcerated was saying that we were antisocial. So thus, if that's the linchpin for keeping us in, what is it that we need to become in order to go home? Is pro-social. And upon realizing that, I felt like I cracked the code on rehabilitation and what it was that we were all trying to achieve, and no one had told us that. So fast forward, went from like getting 25 people to come participate in the program to 100 to 400 to 2,000, to developing such a large following that when it went to another prison, it developed a 10-year waiting list. And now we're in 22 of 33 of 30 California prisons. We're pioneering. We continue to pioneer what rehabilitation looks like for the state of California. But bigger than that, we've now been blessed to transition our curriculums and our teachings from prisons also into the corporate space, but also into athleticism as well, and to working with the youth. And we've been able to do that because we teach an emotional literacy. And emotional literacy is for anybody with a heartbeat. So that's like the secret sauce of the 10P program. We realized that our teachings were not just for people who were in carceral settings, but for athletes as well, right?
Yeah.
And for you, anybody who may be dealing with understanding themselves, because trauma doesn't discriminate. Trauma doesn't care if you're athletic, non-athletic, male, female, tall, short, your economic background. Anybody can be traumatized. So upon realizing this, we in the 10P program, our motto is there are more people in prison than there are incarcerated. So our teachings are applicable to everyone, and that's how we find ourselves working with sports. And my wife, as you know, Marlo, is a 2-time Olympian.
Yes.
Tasha Danvers, she's a 2-time Olympian and Olympic bronze medalist in 400-meter hurdles. And a part of what bonds us is this understanding that we're healing, we're bonded and healing from traumas. I sat in my cell and watched her run at the same time I watched Usain Bolt run, you know, and who knew that this would be my wife upon my release. And the thing that will bond us is our ability to recognize that, you know, the world will beat you down and you have to be resilient and you have to bounce back and you have to be a champion. And that's
Right.
part of our bonding agent. And that's part of the Sauce of the 10P program, is just recognizing that everybody has emotions. And when you actually engage them, you optimize the potential of the person.
Absolutely, man. That's amazing. You know, you're talking to some athletes here, and I think we all have some stories that we could probably dive into just to, you know, show how important understanding your own emotional, you know, development or literacy, or even, I don't even know if this is a term, but sometimes it feels like emotional illiteracy. You know, some people
That's
just don't
the term.
don't get it, don't understand, you know, what their issues are. So like Jim, what has your experience been with like emotional literacy for athletes? You were just talking about having to return to work, and you know, some of the conflicts with dealing with some of the students, but you're also a coach. I mean, is it different? Is it the same? Is it better or worse?
I think it's a little worse from when it was when we were athletes. The kids now have this license to crash out. They have this license to show emotions. In our time, we were always told to keep our emotions in check. It'll make you be calm and more cool when you're playing in the game, because the more emotional you get, the less you're thinking ahead of what it is that we're trying to accomplish and what we're doing, because you're stuck in your own emotions. Nowadays, they have bad examples. Their parents are crashing out in the stands. They're crashing out on the field. Their parents are, you know, supporting that crash out, and they are blaming everybody else but the situation of telling their kid, "Hey, you need to stay calm. The competition is not over. One bad play doesn't lose you the game. Dwelling on that bad play can cost you the opportunity to win a game." So it's a lot of times is, you know, I try to keep myself as a coach way low key, so I can make sure that I'm conveying my message. I'm not yelling, because sometimes when you're yelling at students or yelling at especially young athletes, they tune out. All they hear is the yelling. You can be telling them something good, impactful, that can move them on, but all they hear is the yelling. So I always try to keep a calm, cool voice. And part of the preseason practices and stuff like that, I always say, this is my voice during the game. So you got to focus and listen in, because if you're yelling, you're screaming, you're crashing out, you're not going to hear what I'm saying, because I'm going to stay at this level. Because once I go too far, that's hard to come back down. So this is how we're all going to be on the field. Let's stay calm and cool. So yes, that emotional literacy is very important, and something that needs to be most definitely just throughout society given to everybody, because people just be losing it and they can't handle the emotions and blow opportunities that could have uplifted their family economically and socially.
Oh my God. And Terry,
Yeah,
I'm sitting here thinking about you repping some of those games. I know you've had some crash outs.
yeah, it happens all the time. But Sam, I want to ask you something because something really jumped out at me. You were saying that you were asking for help, just in terms of guidance, in terms of your next step, and you couldn't get the answers, and so you went and researched it for yourself, right? And
Yeah.
so I find that people that read tend to really be less impulsive, and they usually have a higher level of patience and understanding. Do you encourage your athletes and the people that you assist with, like, investigating for themselves and reading things for themselves so that they would have a deeper understanding? Is that part of what you do, or do you believe in that concept?
Terry, that's a great question. Thank you for that. And yes, 100%. Like my wife is a thinker. She's an analytic. I'm an analytic. And I believe education is a powerful transformative tool. And so, as someone who was very impulsive, as someone that did have traits of antisocial personality disorder, I understand how important it is to get those impulses under control. Because just like Jimmy was just saying a moment ago, it's so easy for a parent to crash out and set a bad example. It's so easy for the child or the teen student to then follow, and that's all impulses. But when you're able to get something before you that you can read, that's culturally competent, that you can identify with, maybe see yourself outside of yourself, it allows you to say, oh, shucks, is this what I've been looking like? Is this what I've been doing? And so, yeah, the individuals that we work with, we definitely encourage them to read. We actually have curriculums and workbooks that compare everything from sports psychology and emotional literacy to show them the differences in the dogmas and the disciplines and the results that they can expect to get out of them, and the different focus, of the disciplines. And by learning this type of stuff, the more information that they have, the more informed decisions they can make. And we believe that.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about like how people can get involved with the 10P program. What does that look like?
So there are a number of ways to get involved with 10P. Specifically, since this is Huddle and Whistle, we'll focus on the athletic side. And you can go to our website, 10pprogram.org/ELA, Emotional Literacy for Athletes. And it depends on what your interest is. If you're looking for workbooks to teach your students, or if you just have one athletic student that you are, child person that you're concerned about, or even a former athlete, former professional athlete, this book is designed to like engage the athlete at all walks of life. You can order our books. If you want us to come do workshops, you go to the website, you'll see that we have our ELA ambassadors. Shout out to Marley. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And we will bring our ambassadors out to you, to your students, to your school, to your team, and we will go through it. We would put on an entire workshop. We would talk about the 4 quadrants of emotional literacy, how they apply to sports, how they apply to the whole athlete. We'll do workshops on Zooms. So it's really about what is your need. You reach out to us. We'll do an assessment, whether it's an individual or a whole team, and then we'll meet you where you are and take it from there. So you can go to 10pprogram.org and sign up, leave your name, your email, and identify what it is that you need, what you're trying to, what is it that you're trying to accomplish. And then you can also call me. You can reach out to me at any time. My number's on the website. Also, call the office and we can talk about it.
All right. Quick question. It's not just for you, Sam, for all of you guys. Who do you think is mostly responsible for a person's emotional literacy? It the person themselves, or that the athlete themselves, the coach, the parent, or everyone? Because I know, personally, and again, shout out to Marley, who's one of your 10P ambassadors, but prior to her being involved with your program, and prior to, I want to say, it took a little bit of maturity as well. There was definitely some struggles and some frustration, and part of it was for her age, probably from her age, and then also for having so much love and passion for the sport, right? And so there's like a fine line between being passionate and then being so angry where you're busting out in tears, or you want to throw stuff at the bench, or you want to cuss the ref out. Somebody has a responsibility in that, and I'm just trying to get your perspective on how that all kind of works together.
I'll go if you want me to go first.
Go ahead.
I think it's really the coach. I think the coach has a higher duty to the athlete, and you get the students that come to you. You get the athletes that come to you, right? You don't always get to hand select them. So if you have a parent that's emotionally underdeveloped, then you have a child that's emotionally, or athlete that's emotionally underdeveloped, right? And so part of coaching is being able to balance those emotions, being help people to see like the finish line, being able to talk people off the cliff. And only the coach can do that, because only the coach understands why the play didn't work. They understand why certain things happen. And, we're just starting to learn this concept of emotional intelligence. This is all very new. Like this, just the word of it or the concept of it. But coaches have been dealing with it. So I think the coach is in the best position to really, they've been in those games before. They've been in those high pressure situations, and the kid hasn't, and the parent hasn't. So I think it's really, incumbent upon the coach to guide that relationship. I do.
I am so glad that you said that. I mean, you guys might have a different perspective, Sam and Jim, but I just want to say this, and Jim, you might remember, I had a heck of a reputation in high school when
Yep.
I used to play basketball. And the referees used to jokingly call me Mike Tyson because you fouled me the wrong way, you were going to get punched. And I was
Wow.
going for like knockout. I My mother still teases me to this day. I've gotten kicked out of so many games for fighting. And my coach, golly, love her, Julie Russo, she used to tell me that they would put the sorriest player on me just to annoy me to get a
Yep.
reaction because they knew that I was going to respond. So I definitely could have used a 10P program back then, but I did thankfully have a coach that cared enough to pull me to the side on many occasions and say, look, calm down. You cannot punch everybody that fouls you hard. And I'm like, but they're hacking me. It doesn't matter. Like you just have to, focus, hope that the refs call the foul and move on. But yeah, I struggle with that. I could not stand being pushed around out there when they were fouling me and I wasn't getting the calls. You remember that, Jim?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was understanding where you was coming from, though. I was like, damn, Marlo about to mess up the game for everybody. But I'm gonna add another. I'm gonna add another layer to this. I think the media holds a responsibility for it, having emotional intelligence as well, because a lot of times, especially if you're watching ESPN, Fox Sports, they're showing these high level athletes crashing out, throwing water, fussing at the refs and stuff like that. A lot of times as a young athlete, you're going to imitate the people that you look up to, the people that you admire, that you idolize. So if they're saying that Kobe or Jordan, they were just mean, they were just, they showing highlights and clips of them just fussing at teammates and doing things like that, they're going to think that's what you're supposed to do to have success. And I think sometimes when these pro athletes having these moments, I think it's a responsibility of those cameramen and those announcers to say, hey, that's the wrong way to go. We shouldn't be doing that because you're messing up the game. Or what if they get kicked out? Once again, now you just ruined the game for everybody else because you're the best player. You're out there throwing this tantrum and they're giving you texts or they ejecting you or doing all of that stuff. So I think the media also bears a responsibility that when players are crashing out, to have somebody consciously say, hey, that is the wrong way to go about doing these type of things. Yes, that foul was egregious or that penalty was egregious and you probably not agree with it, but you have to understand that there are people watching, millions of kids watching you and thinking that that's the way to go when things don't go right in the field of play. And that's just not how that works, because at the end of the day, depending on your level of your success or what they think of you as a player, you might not get kicked out. You might get a second chance. But some lower level player or somebody that, they're not the best player on the team, but they're very important to the team's success, they're not looked upon as this great player. So the rest, like, you're out of here. Now you're done. So, you have to have this responsibility throughout society, especially in our media, to say, hey, this is not the right way to go. Instead of every morning show for 2 hours blasting, oh, look what LeBron just did. Look how he reacted. Should he react this way? And just have somebody come out and say, hey, this is not how you should react as an athlete. This is not how you should react in society, period. But most definitely not as an athlete, because there's always somebody watching, somebody always trying to model the thing that you do, whether it's good or bad.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I didn't know that you was, turned up on the court like that, Marlo, but I could see
That
it.
was when I was
you
young.
know,
When I was young. What you mean you can see it? I've
I
been
mean,
clowning
listen, I
my
could see it.
time era.
You still got it up in you. I wouldn't try you on the court, that's for sure. You feel me? And
It's
let me
like,
tell you, I
go
think
ahead.
it's a yes and, right? Everything y'all said is true. I don't think it has to be either or. It has to be the coach. It has to be the media. It has to be the family. It also has to be the individual. It has to be us as a people. We have to have what's called an axiological revolution, which is like a revolution in what we value. Do we value getting there at all costs, or do we value actually the journey to the championship? Is it just about burning out the athlete? You know what I'm saying? The athlete, is it about destroying relationships? Just so long as you're so talented, you can get there, who cares? Or is it about making sure that you rest properly, that you take care of yourself, that you eat properly, that you treat people fairly, you treat your teammates properly, and you achieve the championship? Is that what we value? So it's about changing. We can't change the American way. The American way is that get there at any cost, and if you don't get caught or go to prison, then you're a hero. That's the American way. But we have to begin to shift what our people look up to and what they value and think is cool. So for me, the approach that we take is a holistic approach where we want to engage the family, we want to engage the coach, we would love to engage the media at every chance we get and show them that this is the appropriate way to approach an athlete, because we don't just want them representing our team and our country and our school and forgetting that they're actual person, you know. But at the same time, we also want a responsibility to be on a coach or a referee, to be mindful that trauma does happen and people bring that stuff to work. And sometimes what you might be seeing may not just be, you know, what's happening on the court. It may be at home, somebody just got touched, molested, killed, murdered, went to jail. And it's this place that is their outlet is now where they come in here and it's a cry for help, and it's manifesting and showing up in a way that looks like aggressiveness in the sport, but it's really a cry for help.
Right.
But without these discussions and these new perspectives, we don't see any of that. We don't have these discussions. So earlier, Marlo, you said, is emotional illiteracy even a term? And I'm gonna tell you, 100%. We talk about that big in the 10P program. In fact, one of our main theories is the theory of emotional illiteracy-based criminality. And that theory posits that nobody's born bad, nobody's born evil, but people adopt criminality as a coping mechanism for unprocessed traumas. And so we see the same thing in sports. When people get depressed, when people are actually more aggressive than they should be, oftentimes it's something going on inside that is unprocessed that they're not talking about. And when they get that out of this system, they're able to show up better. But I don't necessarily need you to take my word for it. I would like to invite my wife to actually join the conversation, if you don't mind.
No,
Is that okay with y'all?
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know if I agree with you though.
Hey.
Well,
I have been listening in. There he goes. I didn't know I was going to be on camera, so
No, you
yes,
said good morning.
I would. Thank you. I would definitely. Sam basically took the words out of my head when he said it's everybody's responsibility, because at the end of the day, the foundation of how a child is going to respond is going to start at that home level, like where they see how you handle frustrations, how you handle things not going your way, how you handle wins, how you handle things that do go your way. Are you cocky? Are you arrogant? Or, like there's a flip side on both of it. So that's where it starts. Now, when you get to the coaching level, now you're talking about perhaps this individual has more insight on what it takes to be an athlete and what that looks like than, say, a parent who's just like, I want my baby to win, And so that coach then has that responsibility of really understanding where the athlete is at emotionally and mentally. And then, of course, like we say, there's also the external, the social media, and being mindful that people are humans. I remember when the tennis player, what's the Asian tennis player's name again?
Young lady.
Yeah, I forgot her name. Her name goes out of my head at the moment. But her and Simone Biles, when they were talking about what they were going through mentally as athletes and emotionally, there was a lot of Naomi Osaka, that's right. There was a lot of negative feedback, which was like, well, if you can't handle being an athlete, then get out the game. Well, we're talking about some people who most of the time have been in this game since they were 3 years old. They had no idea what that was going to entail. But one of the things I think that just across the board that we need to do, that Sam touched on there, was the curiosity about what's going on with someone when they do behave in ways that we don't find becoming. Is it, hey, listen, you just need to get out the stands. You're not allowed to come back here anymore. What's wrong with you? This doesn't work. Don't do that anymore. Or is it like, hey, man, like, what's up? Like, tell me what's going on for you right now. Why, what's really going on? Do you think that was the best way to respond to that? Let's talk about it. When things have calmed down, when people can think straight, when their emotions are not hijacked. So it's about teaching our youth and just people in general how to get curious before we make a decision about what they shouldn't how they shouldn't be responding. We really do need to get curious about what's going on, because like Sam said, that's how we get to figure out, well, okay, there was a cause that we may not have seen before this. I've seen athletes whose parents just died that week and they're still at the Olympic Games, so curiosity is I think a huge part of the process of getting to the emotional excellence that we're looking for.
All right. So recently, Sha'Carri Richardson, the track athlete Olympian, arrested, for assaulting her boyfriend in the airport, right?
Christian Coleman.
So I'm interested to know how you two would advise them. So, wife, could you tell us what would the 10P program say to the boyfriend? And husband Sam, what would the 10P program say to Sha'Carri?
Okay, so ladies first.
We
got to talk about this.
Just got through talking about this over the last couple of days. When it comes to being able to handle emotions in situations like that, you have to be doing the work beforehand. Just like any other sport, life is a sport. Every aspect of life is a sport. This is what I talk about in my program. So whether it's your work, it's your school, it's your relationship, it's a sport. And you train for that sport before it goes down, right? You don't wait till you're at your most like hot moment to decide how you're going to handle a situation. You talk about those things, you practice those things. Like Sam and I were always figuring out what kind of communication structure we want to have if we're not agreeing. Like, okay, I want to bring up something that I know might be controversial. Don't just bogart in the room. Hey, listen, man, I didn't like the way you was blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, I'm already on my defensive. So one of the things that I would advise them as a couple is to talk about how you're going to talk about things that are bothering you real time, right? We always
to talk about how you're going to
how are you going to talk about what you're going to talk about real time in the event that your emotions are hijacked. You have to have a plan. You don't just show up to the track meet or the football game or the basketball game and just start playing. You've been practicing what you're going to do if someone elbows you, what you're going to do if you hit a hurdle, what you're going to do if your ball gets intercepted. You practice all that stuff mentally and emotionally way beforehand. But then when it comes to, emotions and dealing with certain things, we're not teaching the generation, I think, as well as we could, how to handle the outside life and how it meshes with your career. This is why we see people great on the court and then they're spiraling out, driving too fast and drinking outside of the game. It's because no one's keeping that balance between, this is a human being that plays a sport. This is not a sport that plays a human being. So that's just one of the things I would say, honey.
Right on. Thank you.
Before I respond, I want to give Natasha her flowers. I remember when she ran track at USC. I was running track at UCLA, playing football at UCLA at the same time. So I remember her being great at what she did. I remember watching her in the Olympics as well. So I want to give her those flowers. You were a hell of an athlete. I couldn't stand you at that time because you wore mustard and ketchup. So I couldn't say, but hey, we always cheered for Trojans when we wasn't competing against them, because that's just it seemed like it was a brotherhood between USC and UCLA when we wasn't competing against each other. So we always cheered for you guys, even though it didn't seem like it, but we always were cheering for you guys. Your career while you were out there running. But most definitely, I agree with having a plan. I think a lot of people don't sit around and say, this is how I should respond to certain things that I'm about to go through. And that's one of the things I talk about as a restorative justice teacher at Crenshaw High School. How are you going to respond when things don't go your way? Are you actually sit down, put in the mental work? I always tell athletes, your mental reps are just as important as those physical reps. What is your plan when things don't go right? Whether it's in life, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in the field of play. Have a plan on how you're going to respond. Because if you don't, you're going to spiral out. You're going to crash out. You're going to do all that. Like I know with me and my wife, I'm a big time video gamer, not because I love playing video games, that's part of it, but it helps me calm myself down. So whenever something is not going right and you see me up in here, I'm not just playing the game, I'm thinking. The game is just there as background noise most of the time.
Right.
I'm thinking about how am I going to go back to work the next day, or how am I going to deal with this person when I see them again, and have a plan, because I think they're going to respond like this when I approach them. I can't meet that energy in a negative way. So how can I get my message across? So that's a lot of times it's just the planning of how we're going to emotionally deal with people.
That's incredible. Thank you for saying. Well, you still talking? You don't look like you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. It clicked on mute. People are not going to be so logical all the time. So you have to find a way to get your logic or your point across of peace over there, as Tasha said, being defensive or putting somebody in the defensive. You have to understand what it might take. So sometimes even studying the people that you're around all the time and figuring out, okay, this is how I can approach this person, this is how I can approach that person, is very important in any aspect of your life.
It is. That's. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm just sitting here reflecting on what you said about the UCLA USC thing. I couldn't stand you at that time. I'm still rooting for you.
Nobody could stand anybody.
And so everything y'all, again, it's a yes and I love the original question. And for me, I would say that yes, what Tasha is saying is very true. We have to plan ahead, and we do it all the time. We have to talk about how to talk about what we're going to talk about, because it can go haywire real quick if we don't set boundaries and structures and everything. It gets ugly. What I would say to them at this point is, I've been called a fraud before. Like, I did 24 years in the pen. I created this program, and I was teaching other people how to go home. And I would tell them, you go in there and you be accountable. You know, you take responsibility for this action that you committed. And I wasn't doing it. I maintained my innocence for 24 years. And though I had my reasons, I was doing it. So at one point, when I came back and I'm teaching like these 60 men how to, prepare for the board, be emotionally literate, go home and all the stuff. And then I came and told them that I've been maintaining my innocence. They was like, oh man, you faking and you were a fraud and we thought you were smarter than this and all these different things. Everybody had opinions, but I had to walk through that fire. And so what I would say to them at this point is vulnerability is a superpower. And you have an opportunity to seize this moment. You can't unspill that milk. You can't go back and put that bullet back in the gun. You can't put those words back inside your throat on your vocal cords. What then took place, then took place. So now, if you all genuinely love each other, if y'all actually value this relationship, the emotional literacy for athletes aspect that we would apply to this would be the 4 quadrants, which is social awareness, relationship awareness, social management, and the self-management. And what that means is, so the emotional literacy part is being aware of society right now and how you're showing up, how they're potentially viewing you, what they're thinking about you, how you're feeling about that. You know what I'm saying? And then being self-aware. How do you feel within yourself? Y'all, the situation has been created. Your personal business has spilled out into the public. So many people have things to say. Sit in that for a moment. Y'all feel it. Be aware. And now that you understand how you feel, the emotional intelligence part is about choosing the tools to respond to now what you feel and what you read. So what will your tools be? Will your tools now be to step back from the public? Will your tools be to get on the offensive and come out and say, listen, we hold ourselves to a certain standard. We apologize for this coming out into the public. We want all of the young athletes looking up to know that we're human beings. We dealt with some stuff and we're getting in front of it. That's also a tool. So if I was to talk to them, I would tell them it's okay. Don't come down on yourself. This ain't the end of the world. Forget what the naysayers are talking about. You're still incredible people. You're still talented. What do you all want to do with your relationship? If you wanted to stay together, then you need to make a decision and be emotionally literate together. And what does that look like moving forward? So that would be my discussion with them.
You got your answer, Terry?
Yeah, thank you. I was looking for a little bit more, like you need to do this and you need to do that. That's what I was looking for. Like that's what I was looking for. This is why y'all need to act. I needed something like that.
I think they break up at this point. Drama is there.
Yeah, I mean, we got. I mean, if you look at Sha'Carri's background, we know that it has been a challenging life for Sha'Carri. So
Yes.
she may not have the tools yet that are required to have a non-toxic dynamic in the relationship that she's in. From what I know of their personalities, they're quite different. So um, the thing is, I remember, I think it was Jack Canfield who said everyone's always doing the best they can with the information, the tools, the mindset. It's not those words exactly, but it's basically saying everyone's always doing the best they can with their consciousness at that particular time. And if you're on the outside looking in at what happened, and you're more advanced in terms of consciousness and anger management and things like that, then you'll look at it and you'll say, whew, no, maybe not. But she's where she's at. And hopefully she will grow from this experience, and this will be an experience, because we all have had things in our lives. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. If anyone knew that, or whatever the case may be, we've all had those stages. This is just where she's at right now. So it's easy to judge, but if we look back at our own lives, there was probably a point in our own lives where we did something that we were not too proud of either. So she just needs now, like Sam said, somebody or her own self to say, listen, your anger management ain't there yet. let's work on that without judgment. Let's work on that. This wasn't the move. So let's do something different. So
And for me, excuse me, I'll jump in. I'm glad you said that too, Brother Terry, about thinking that we would just come in and say, this is what you need to do. I'm gonna tell you what I learned about helping people 24 years in the pen, and people trying to tell me what I need to do. Before I can tell a person what they need to do, they need to know that I can relate to them. They need to know that I'm somebody that can feel them and what they're going through. Otherwise, the knowledge ain't gonna get through. So before I even start telling them what they need to do, I just need them to know that I'm empathizing with you. I'm not looking at you like you're a bad person. I'm not the enemy, and I'm real neutral. And I want you to see it's not the end of the world. I feel where you are. And now we can talk about what needs to be done. But first, I just need you to know I'm not the enemy. And you can process what I'm saying. So that's the approach that we take when we matriculate people into like learning.
people don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Yeah, it's like it's building that trust component with people.
Right.
Like, hey, trust in me, because I think with Sha'Carri, it's hard for her to trust people. Everything that
Yeah,
she's been through
100%.
since she's been on the stage, this world stage, and people, I
Yeah.
mean, people were talking about how she dressed, how she walked, how she talked. So she never knows who's genuine on really trying to
Yeah.
help her, or who's trying to come up off of her, or who's trying to actually bring her down. And I think in that situation, I mean, like I said, we're from the outside looking in the airport. I think in that moment, her trust with Coleman was just like, oh, I don't believe he's doing this to me in this moment, in this public space. And then she
Right.
lashed out and reacted. So I think with her is learning how to build trust. And I always say this: if you can't trust the person that you're dating or you're trying to get romantically with, you need to walk away, because that trust component really helps how you deal with the person that you with. That trust that that person is not trying to harm you. We just having a simple disagreement. We got to handle this better, because sometimes when you just don't trust people like that, oh, it's infuriating, and it makes you want to go after people. And I know I had to deal with that, and I had to learn that. Like, I just don't trust people, and then when they seem like they're betraying my trust, I just want to just punch them in the face, just do a Marlowe.
Hey, you know what, Jim? All seriousness, I think Sha'Carri might be related to me, truthfully. So, but just in general, you bring up the trust. I feel like, just as a woman and as an individual that definitely had a horrible temper. I was, again, definitely that athlete that reacted and responded negatively to anything that pissed me off. It was on from that point. But from someone that has grown through that and has done the work and has realized, that there are certain things that just cannot be done and tolerated, it has helped me relate to people that do it. For my own daughter, when I talk to her, it's because I know what I'm talking about. I've been there, I've done it. And I tell her all the time, like, that's the worst thing you can do. Like, a coach does not want to see that. And that you're always being watched, right? Behave like you're always being watched. And what I would say Sha'Carri is, not tell her, but again, from a woman's perspective, I don't think she trusts him, but also don't think she respects him, because those two kind of work hand in hand. And I think
Mhm.
a woman in her position, in her status, has to be with someone that she not only trusts, but that she respects. Because if she respected him, there's no way that, regardless what he did, that she would have responded or reacted to him in that way. So I think, from her own internal work, excuse me, work, she just needs to find people that she trusts and respects, because
Nice.
the two are not synonymous, right? You've got to have both of those when you're in her position, because she's
Mhm.
always going to be watched. They're always going to bring up her past. They're always going to talk about what happened when with whom. So she has got to be responsible and say, you know what? I don't really respect this person, so I'm going to keep them over there. I don't really trust this person, so I'm going to keep them over there. And she just has to tighten up herself and her circle. That's my take on it.
Yeah. And the
I don't
challenge
know.
for them is Christian Coleman, who is her current boyfriend, is one of the best sprinters, if not the best right now in the USA. So when you put that partnership together, you're going to keep seeing, like, even if they decide not to be together now, they have a whole nother thing, because he's going to be everywhere she goes, right?
Yeah.
They're going to, so that's like a whole nother level when you're in that dynamic that you also have to deal with. Like you said, she's going to have to figure out a way now, if they don't stay together, of how she's going to, manage that as well. Like seeing this dude every single place she goes.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that that we identify in our program, that and we talk about, we bring it to the person's mentality, to the forefront,
Mhm.
that otherwise it wouldn't come up. Asking her about, are you aware that you're going to see this individual almost everywhere you go, and you're still going to need to perform at peak? Are you prepared for that? That's a discussion that
That's a
needs to
real
take
talk.
place. You know what I'm saying? And these are the type of like comprehensive, down to earth discussions that we're able to have with our clients and the people that we work with, once we get to know them and we start working with it. But at first, all starts with that need to have them know that we
Care.
can care, yeah, and can relate to them. So to touch on those points.
Yeah.
So, like Marlo, you said you don't believe that Sha'Carri respects him.
Yeah.
My take on that is that she may not be able to demonstrate respect because she doesn't necessarily have a level of emotional intelligence and a higher level of respect for herself. And
Mhm.
so, I think that's really the core of it. And it really leads into my question to our guest today, which is, how do you get an athlete to learn from a coach that they may not particularly like, or they may not particularly respect? Because they may think, oh, this coach looks a particular certain way. They don't have a background in this. They haven't gone to the level where I'm trying to get to. So why would I listen to the coach? I'm going to listen to somebody else. Right. And so that there's this conflict with this player of trying to, you know, to discern why they should listen to this coach. And sometimes, I'm really interested in knowing, what would you say to a player to get them to understand, like, this coach has a lot to offer you. Maximize what you can learn from this coach, even though you may not particularly like the coach, or you may not think the coach is qualified to talk to you, but there's a lot to learn. How do you get a player to understand how to maximize that relationship?
Would you like to jump in, or you want me to go?
I'll go, D.
So again, we're real down to earth. We're real practical. Having a one-on-one relationship, I would just tell them, you're a damn fool, because you want to be the best, and you have an opportunity to learn from somebody that's offering you something to make you better. And if you're not willing to listen, then you're not going to reach that goal. And that's basically how I speak to people, because again, the emotional literacy that we teach is very organic, and it was born in a place where our lives depended on it. So I let people know off the gate that, first of all, if I was the coach, I would just flat out tell this athlete, I get the impression that you don't like me. I feel like you think you can't learn from me. I think you don't have to respect me, and that's all cool. You can, if you feel like that, you're welcome to feel like that. What I want you to do is hear the things that I'm saying to you though. And if there's any value in what I'm sharing to you, pick up on that and roll with that. And I think engaging a person like that, it's almost like when I was in the pen and somebody be like, I'm finna go stab this guy. I want to stab somebody. I'm gonna do something. Okay, we'll do it then. But know if you do it, these are gonna be the consequences. So when the coaching situation, I would say, well, you have the choice to ignore me and disregard everything I'm saying. Do it then. See how it's gonna turn out for you. So I would just engage them directly, but let them know it's all love. I'm really trying to teach you. I'm not gonna take it personal. And I would hope that you take your personal feelings out and just receive what I'm trying to share with you. And in the long run, eventually you'll develop a respect and appreciation for what I expose to you because I know my stuff. And if you just give me the opportunity to assess me on my merit, not for my character, not for my personality, not for none of that, just assess me on what I'm showing you. And I guarantee a year from now or whatever, you're going to come back and say, I didn't like you when I met you, but you knew your stuff, man, and I appreciate you. And that's how I would approach it.
Right. From my experience as an athlete who did have several different coaches and who's been around the athletes that are like, well, you know, I don't know if I like this coach or their program. One of the things that was my mindset and that I would share with other athletes was when you go to a program, you submit to that program. That's it. Because at the end of the day, you know, you have a lot of athletes who are like, well, when I was in high school, I used to do this 400 workout. And that, I think that's what made me great. Now I'm in college. I want to do that. And my coach won't let me do it. Well, you're not in high school no more. And this is a completely different program and it's designed for a different result than you were getting before. Now, that doesn't mean, like Sam said, that you can't have a conversation, because as I got higher up in my sport, as I got more and more professional and knew more about my training and understood what was going on behind the program, not just the coach came out and rolled the dice and said, oh, there's a 4 and a 5. Yeah, we'll do 4 500s today. That's not how it worked. It was a whole program, a whole system. I had to submit to the system no matter what my feelings were in order to even have an opinion about whether this training program could work for me or not. And so once I was in the training program long enough and had enough maturity to understand my body, the competitive season, the training program itself, then I could have a conversation with my coach. Hey, listen, I would like to include this. I would like to do this. I would like to do that. And we could talk about it. But it's a real fine line, because in my experience, there's a lot of ego when it comes to coaches and changing anything if they think it's come from another coach. So I think the emotional literacy side of that is also that I would like to see athletes feel more open to having the discussions with their coaches. And that, I think, comes from the coach giving them the space to feel like they can have a discussion about it. They may not agree with what the athlete is suggesting they want to do, but at least not feeling like their coach is closed off to anything. This is my program. It goes like this. I'm never changing it. It's worked for, the world champion and this champion, so it's going to work for you. And I've seen 1,000 programs. They do exactly the same thing for the next athlete and it don't work. So I think it's that, emotional literacy, or like Sam said, on both sides, knowing how to have that conversation. But I think ultimately it starts with, my belief is, and this isn't everyone's belief, my belief is that if you're going to be in a program, just submit to the program. Allow it enough time to actually garner results, because somebody will be like, oh, I was in this program a year and didn't get the results I wanted. Your program hasn't even embedded in your body yet.
Right.
So hold on, so that's
and I think I'm gonna say this, unfortunately, you got to be like the athlete whisperer. Coaches got to be like the athlete whisperer. You have to be able to identify the different talents, personalities, kids, people that you're dealing with. And if you're really sincere and you care and you can crack the code, you got to figure out, how do I approach this person? That's part of emotional literacy. Again, that's the social awareness, the relationship awareness, that's the self-management and the relationship management. What's going on with this person? I can see that they're talented. I can see that there's an opportunity for them to achieve their goals. How can I be most effective in their life and not just be more controversy? How can I communicate with this person? So I also think it's up to the coach to figure out how to be somewhat of an athlete whisperer and kind of crack the code on each individual that they meet. And if it's for them, they will. And if it's not, They won't.
Exactly.
They can't be impatient and just give up on the person if they're really trying to teach them and optimize their potential.
And everything ain't for everybody. It can work both ways, right? Every training program isn't for every athlete. Every coach isn't for every athlete. You know, at the end of the day, this program may not be for you. Like I've seen programs where that this is not the program for this athlete. This is a great coach. He had 2 gold medalists at the Olympics. But this isn't the program for that athlete. So it's the athlete also has to know when to hold them, when to fold them, when to walk away when the deal is done. And it's a really fine balance in that, because I've definitely seen athletes stay with coaches too long and coaches not know when to say, listen, I've taken you as far as I believe we can go. Let's figure out how we can get you to a coach that would be more suited to you. And I think a lot of people have a real hard time with having those kind of conversations because it feels like a failure to them. And it's not. It's just an awareness.
And can I add on to what Sam and Natasha said? I agree with everything you said. But when you, because I took the initiative to talk to my coaches at UCLA and when I was in NFL Europe, it isn't just having that conversation. It's your tone and your rhetoric when you come to have these conversations.
100%.
Like Natasha said, it's ego. Their egos are telling them that I know more than you. You're the athlete, I'm the coach. Now, if you come at them the wrong way, and oh God, I was a master coming at somebody the wrong way. You come at them the wrong way, you never know who they know, what connections they have to get you to the next coach or to get you to the next level. They will talk about you as horrible as they can while using your talents to uplift themselves. So you have to be cautious on how you're having these conversations with coaches. Because I came in with fire and brimstone, and woo, that limited a lot of my opportunities. But you gotta understand, and that's what I always tell my students: your tone and your rhetoric will dictate how a conversation can go. Because y'all can totally not agree on something, but y'all don't leave with these harsh feelings. But when you come up in here and you're telling them what they're not and what they can't do for you and what you're not going to do for them, oh my God, it will kill everything for you. So I totally agree with what you're saying, but just add that extra component, how you talk to somebody will determine how they receive your message.
That's the same thing Sam and I were talking about, how we communicate about hard conversations in our relationship.
Right.
We figure out how to have that conversation before, you know, like you said, you just don't go up to the coach and say, hey, listen, I don't think your program's good for me. You know, I'm not getting the results I want. I don't think I'll ever get the results I want. I need something else. But
And the coach can't just walk up like, look, you're trash. You're just garbage, but you need to listen to what I'm telling you.
then
Like,
then you could be somebody.
Right. It's not going to work out like that.
No, we're all human beings.
How do you know that this 10P program is working or is successful? Like, do you guys do assessments? How do you track the data? Do you just like people come back and tell you that it's working, like more people enroll? Like, how do you know that it's a successful program?
All of the above. We have videos from people saying how we've changed their lives. We have
10 years of
we've been doing it for 10 years. We got videos, we have letters, recognition from the California Senate, we have accounts from the individuals themselves, we have letters written by the people that we work with.
California state prison system keeps bringing you in for the last 10 years.
Schools, everyone that we work with speaks highly of our work.
Okay, no, that's good. I just wanted you to get it out there, like you said, the program, but we don't know who's been a part of it or how successful it's been. So I was trying to get you to, let the people know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, we are pioneering a new space. As y'all said at the beginning, you like this whole discussion about emotional intelligence. It's been, mentioned here and there, but what we're doing, we actually like making it a big issue because we want the whole athlete to be recognized. Yeah, this is the issue. And so we've been recognized by the California Senate for our work with emotional literacy, the California Department of Corrections.
You're now working at the women's.
We're now at the Women's Fire Camp, where we have a new program that we're bridging emotional literacy and transition. So we're helping families and society reconnect with the formerly incarcerated firefighters. We're working inside the schools. We're Ready, Set, Go with Tasha, and what was that, like junior high school, middle school, and we're doing a lot of great work.
Yeah, elementary.
And so anybody that wants to see what we're doing, like I said, you can go to the website and you'll see the host of athletic ambassadors, emotional literacy for athletes ambassadors that we have, from Tasha to all the way to Marley, who is, our most junior ambassador there is, to Selena, who's in college, to Camilla, who is a gold medal fencing Olympian, to Nia, who's currently playing rugby right now, and it goes on and on and on. So we have all of these ambassadors who represent the program and can come and teach alongside of us, that will help do the seminars and the workshops, and it's having a powerful impact. And we want to continue to grow it. We want the whole athlete to become the big focal point just as much as achieving the championship. We don't want to get to the championship at any cost. You get there and your car is full of bullet holes, it's falling apart, you're about to die, and you're suicidal. We don't want you to get there like that. We need you to get there feeling whole. I accomplished this mission. I kept myself intact the entire time. I did self-care. I respected my team members. I respected my coach, and I made it. I still did it.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're striving for. And anybody that wants to check us out or learn more about the work that we do, support us, or even retain us to come train your staff. We'll come train your whole coaching staff in emotional literacy for athletes. We'll bring the workbooks, the facilitator manuals, and everything. We'll come teach your staff how to teach it to the youth.
Like at the end of the day, one athlete committing suicide. I mean, we know there are
NCAA,
NCAA, Olympic Games, fall into depression, commit suicide. I went through my own mental health crisis, and I remember going to the sports doctor and talking to him about it, and he's just reeling off, oh yeah, well, so and so, like double gold medalists, Olympic champions, world record holders, oh yeah, they're on this antidepressant, they're on that antidepressant. I'm like, what the heck? And it took me ages to go and have the confidence to have this conversation, because I thought I was the little weirdo that couldn't handle my life.
Wow.
And so when I heard this, it's just reeling off. It's like, man, this is like the dark secret of the games, and these one-off stories, that seemed like they were one-off at the time, one-off stories of people killing themselves over sports and their results. They're not one-off. This is going on just below the surface. Why is it going on? And what can we do about it before someone has to, completely fill their body up to the eyeballs with antidepressants? And I'm not saying that antidepressants aren't the right way to go. You need to talk to a professional about what's the right course of action for you. But before we even get there, has anyone had a conversation about your emotions, the fact that you're a human, the fact that your mind matters, the fact that how important really is this in the grand scheme of life? The fact that this is a sport and it's supposed to be fun. Like, where are these conversations that get us to the point where we don't, we understand that, okay, this may not have worked out the way I wanted it to, but having such depression about it that I want to end my life over it, we missed something. So
that just made me think of something you said earlier, Marlo, and I'm gonna be quiet real quick. Is you asked about whose responsibility it is for the development of the athlete. And it also made me think that the prefrontal lobe and the prefrontal cortex and all, it's not done maturing until they're like 26. They're 25, 26 years old. And so even with that said, while they may have these big old bodies, while they may be talented and all that, they're still forming and emotionally immature in their minds. So despite all of the aggression that they push back with and acting like they know, at the end of the day, they still don't. And as the more mature coach, as the more mature referee, as the more mature, advocate, ambassador, whatever the case may be, if we in those positions, then we have a responsibility to carry ourselves a certain way. And we're supposed to engage them, like Jim just said, certain tone, certain level of patience. Otherwise, get out the way. You shouldn't be in that position if you're not qualified to engage the people you're going to be encountering. Right. So I think it comes back down to it's a everybody approach, especially remembering that we're dealing with people whose minds are not fully formed yet.
No, definitely. All great points, man. You guys were awesome today. Tasha, we're gonna have to get your bio on here, add you to the list.
That's right.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You guys have given us so much to talk about in the future, and hopefully a lot of coaches and athletes also are viewing this and take advantage of getting involved with your program in any way possible, but also really the important work of understanding that emotional literacy for athletes is a thing. We talk to a lot of coaches and we've got a lot of athletes out there. And like you said, Tasha, it's not a one-off. This is a regular occurrence, and it's something that should be spoken about more. So we appreciate you guys today for coming on the
Thank
show.
you.
And we will make sure to include your information so that everybody can have
Definitely.
it. So this
Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you. This was great.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the work that you all are doing. And if you ever want to do an emotional literacy for athletes corner or segment, we are more than willing. We'll be honored. Yeah.
We are honored. Yep.
All right.
Thank
Thanks, you guys. This
All
concludes our episode number 6. I stopped recording now.
Huddle and Whistle.
I know
Right.
so I'm sorry, Jim.
What happened?
Not that we had to go. I said, I'm sorry. We're a little bit.
This conversation was better than what I'm about to go do right now. This was a great conversation. I hope this message get out.
Yeah, it really was.
Yes.
No,
Thank you. I'm so happy y'all feel like that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and Sam, I wanted to introduce you to Terry too. Jim, you can hop off whenever you're ready, because I know Terry.
Everybody have a good one.
All right, Jim, take it easy.
Terry was talking about some things, and I can't remember exactly the details of the conversation, but I told him that you guys need to talk, because he was talking about a program that he was interested in. I said, you need to talk to Sam, because Sam is already doing something like that. And Terry's up north in the Bay Area. So I don't know if you have any people up there currently, but Terry is also an attorney. As you can see, he represents a lot of people in the criminal law space. And he also works for, what's the name of your department, Terry?
Oh, for the San Francisco Public Defender. So I work for them. But I actually just submitted a proposal to a couple of schools out here to do a emotional intelligence workshop for athletes, because there's a component where, so I literally I just emailed a proposal. So the coaches want me to come in and do it. Now it's going through the process of being approved by the AD. Because I've coached football for like 25 years. And so I referee basketball, and what we've seen is that there are a lot of issues that come up with players. So something happens in the game, and then they just don't know how to manage that issue, or they don't know how to manage the relationship with the coach. And then you have the ride home. And so a lot of these things are compounded on top of the athlete, and they really don't know how to balance it, right? And so one of the coaches asked me to serve as a liaison between the parent, the player, and the coaches. And I was like, well, why don't we just make it a little bit more formal, and we could do a program, and we could take a couple, like a 6-week program where I could come in once or twice a month, do workshops, do different things with the players to help address certain issues, or at least provide a forum for discussion. And so that's the premise of the program. And so when I was talking about that with Marlo, she was like, we got to talk to Sam.
Because we already got everything in place. We got the workbooks, we got the structure, the format. We teach emotional literacy for athletes. We could bring in the Olympic ambassadors. We're ready to lock and ready to go. That would be ideal.
Oh,
and I got team up there too.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. Yeah, let's definitely connect on that.
Okay, what do you need from me so we can move the ball forward?
Just give me a phone number, and and I'll reach out to you, and I'll send you
great work, Marlo. 213
okay
246 9105. Yeah, that's what we do, man. I've been like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I'm gonna text you my information, and just send me your email address, and then I'll put it together, and then we'll definitely.
Nice.
Yeah, this was great. This is perfect timing. It's almost divine intervention.
Right? That's what I said.
Yeah,
I said,
100%.
Wait a minute.
Yes, we'll show up in person, virtually. We have the workbooks. We do everything we need to do. We'll come down and do a whole comprehensive assessment of the school, the league, whatever you need us to do, Terry. We're gonna fill that void, bro.
Okay, all good. I appreciate it. 246-9105.
Yes, sir.
All right. There you go.
This is great. And did Marley give any feedback on the workbook yet?
Not yet. We're in the process of packing up some stuff. So she has it. I don't think she has technically opened it yet, but she does have it and she is aware of what it is and what she's gonna need to do with it.
Nice. Okay, I got it, Terry. It just showed up.
Yeah, okay. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Sending my email right now.
Okay. It's all good.
Nice.
All right.
Glad that I could make this connection. Thank you for jumping in, Miss Tasha.
No,
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks for tuning in to the Huddle and Whistle Show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with your fellow sports fans. If you are a sponsor or a guest who wants to join us and bring your voice to the conversation, email us at info@marlonicoleproductions.com. Until next time, let's huddle up and blow the whistle.